Hello, everybody, and welcome to Teachers in the Dungeon. I'm Tom Gross.
And I am Dan Ream.
And we are the Teachers in the Dungeon. It's been nice in the dungeon here lately.
Yes. They installed some good HVAC equipment. It's been very pleasant atmosphere.
It has been very pleasant. In fact, such that we played outdoors the other night.
We did, yeah, and it felt like October.
It did. It was, yeah, and I remember you jokingly put onto our group text, our campaign text, "Be ready, Tom." And I thought I was ready, but I probably should have put a long sleeve T-shirt underneath my sweatshirt.
I wasn't kidding. I knew the temperature was going to get down, and I knew that hoodies would be on tap.
I mean, I was never freezing, but definitely it was a little chilly at times. But the game kept it warm, and kept things going. And so we've got two things that are happening/happened. One, are you recovered from Gen Con?
Yes, I think I have.
As we're recording, we are 1 week from the return.
Yes,
from Gen Con.
That's true. Yeah, I am. And there's a little wistfulness, but other than that
1 week, those 1 week marks, it's like, oh, on this day last week I was doing this. Oh, on this day. And so, as I said for our Gen Con preview, it was yesterday that I put all my Gen Con stuff away. And I kind of got to relive and look at and flip through the books and look at the game and find the pins that I had somehow acquired. I have a lot of pins, and there's only one that I think I bought. So I don't know how I ended up with all those. Seriously, folks, I was not pickpocketing or snagging off of book bags or whatever it is. But no, it was good yesterday to kind of put that stuff away and just sort of kind of mentally go back through the con. And then the second part of what is happened and happening is we're going back to school. As we record, it's like when you start running a marathon and you got the excitement of the first few steps. But I don't know about anybody else that's run marathons, but it doesn't take me long before I start thinking about the end. What was I doing? So anyway, I have no doubt it'll be a great year. Game Club, I'm sure, will be wonderful. Look forward to meeting the freshmen coming into Game Club this year.
Yeah, I'm excited to see.
And to watching some of the kids that were on the verge of leadership or that we had sort of been watching over the years rise into leadership positions.
Yeah, you do such a good job of cultivating that. That is something that I never considered as a club sponsor, but you take that so seriously, and you are constantly sort of preparing kids for that kind of role if they're able to handle it.
Well, I'm not going to lie, there's a little selfishness there, because if I don't have kid leaders, that means I have to do everything. And so if I've got leaders, then I can sit back and watch them. But again, as an educator, that's what we want. Is we want kids to walk away better and stronger at whatever it is they do, whether it's a member of a group or a leader of a group. So nonetheless, we're here today to talk about our recap of our return to Telessaria.
Yes.
You've always said you wanted a new name for that.
Well, I was going to say, the Telessaria is just the name of the region you went to on your very first adventure.
And yet we refer to that as...
It's just stuck. Well, I think it was probably 6 months or more in before I even had a name for the continent. Okay. So it's on me. So
yeah, well...
It fits. It rolls off the tongue.
Whatever you decide someday... that's what we'll go with.
So we switched up DMs. You finished up, and I stepped back in.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned last time is I looked ahead to the next level of the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and I was kind of like, oh man. So no, but it was a ton of fun to be back. So the format for today, just to shake things up a little bit, is as in my review of Friday night, I came up with 4 headlines, like a newspaper headline.
All right.
And I'm going to give you the headline, and then we can kind of talk through it. Some of them will have more discussion than others, but I think all of them are quite relevant. So,
okay, let's go.
All right. So the first headline is probably the most basic of them. It simply is new character intro. That would not sell newspapers, by the way. So we have a new character that joined, but it's a player that's been with us for almost a year and a half, if not a little bit longer, because I think it's been a little bit over 2 years since we've played Telessaria, played in this world.
Gosh, yeah.
Maybe not quite 2 years, but it was January of 23 is the last mention that I have of it.
Wow. Okay.
So, no, it is. So it is almost 2 years. So we have a new character. The introduction was quite amusing because our friend Nate, who brings the new character to the table, he took role play to like acting.
We yes, and the backstory real quick is that neither he nor I was particularly good at getting back to each other as we were figuring out how he was going to emerge. So I think I only knew a day or two before what his character actually was. And then I said, oh, well, that works. Here's where you're from in the world. That will work quite nicely.
Okay.
And then it kind of ended there. And then I realized on the day, a couple hours before you were going to arrive, I don't know how he's going to be introduced to the party.
Yeah.
So I had just a couple of ideas real quick and gave them to him. And I can't really reveal them all because he didn't reveal it all.
Okay. Yeah.
But I suggested that he already be on board ship. And one of the options I gave him is maybe you're sleeping off like a bender.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's why you're still on the ship.
Okay. Yeah, because when we opened his door, we just entered. Rix just entered. Nate physically stood up and ran around a bush, and just like did all the great sounds that come along with working one off, and it was great. I thought maybe he ate something bad at the table there, but no, it was a fun introduction. And let me see if I know. He is a high elf wizard. Is it just a straight up wizard?
Blade singer.
Oh, blade singer wizard. That's right. I think that's cool. I think it's a nice mix to our group. He got right into it with us, both sort of in attitude as well as battle. And it was a good introduction to the group because in battle, he was sucked right off the ship.
Yes.
And so, of course, we came to his rescue.
And I kind of alluded to it, but he did not mean to still be on the ship. They cast off before he was able.
I guess I did kind of pick up on that. Yeah.
And he was, why, stop, go back. I need to get off.
Yep.
And,
Okay.
"Oh, can't, sorry."
Yeah, that was a detail that I caught now that you say it, but I didn't think much of. And another thing is when we got on the ship, I can't remember his name, the captain.
Dallin.
Okay, yeah, he said, well, there's one other on the ship, and my mind went straight to story. Like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? And it didn't even occur to me that it would be Nate.
Well, good. That made a good surprise. And
I was deep in the story, and so when Rix went to the door, I thought nothing of the privacy aspect, or I was like, well, I want to know who this guy is.
I guess that is why that as a DM, that caught me off guard, and I was a little bit initially irritated because I thought you're kind of ruining Nate. Nate isn't going to make
intro.
He doesn't the way he wants, but he rolled with it really, really well. So that was good.
He did.
It was entertaining.
Okay, so headline number 2, and this was unexpected on my part. Crabby pants. That's the headline is Crabby Pants.
Oh, goodness.
I felt like all of the characters were super crabby. I thought Dirichlet was especially combative with everybody, and I thought Rix was a little crabby for being Rix.
Yeah.
And that kind of made Borem crabby. I wasn't expecting all that. And I don't know if it was just an adjustment to new characters or if it was intended, unintended. I don't know. But about an hour and a half in, I was like, God, everybody is being so argumentative. Did you pick up on that as DM?
Not until you said. What struck me is I thought Rix was behaving differently than what I was used to. I did notice that. Dirichlet's always crabby to me, so that didn't really surprise me.
I just thought it was extra crabby.
And say Nate, I feel like a lot of Nate's characters tend to be very stoic.
Yeah.
So that didn't strike me. I feel like though this group has always those characteristics have always been that way.
Had a sense of crabbiness.
I guess we need to compare it because in our bad guy group, you and I are siblings, so that brings some warmth.
Yeah.
Slight obviously the three men of the cloth
Yes.
are, they get along.
Yes,
Yeah.
we get along swimmingly.
Yeah, they're very and then in Waterdeep, Kistos generally is a pretty let's just all hug it out type of a guy. and I think I was trying to think of other characters there like that. Chris's is
In Waterdeep?
Yeah.
I mean, Ironclaws is kind of
he's a
crabby pants. He's a loner.
Yeah.
He went across the alley to create his own place.
Yeah.
Rather than taking up residence in the Troll Skull Manor. But Karavek he's pretty go with the flow. Like, he likes to take charge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, Gribbus wasn't super crabby.
No.
But Gribbus is usually pretty go with the flow. He just wants to draw the axe and go at it.
Yeah.
Brian's character's name, I can't remember now off the top of my head.
Nighthawk.
That's in Waterdeep.
Yeah. Oh, here.
Yeah.
Micah, I think. Or Malachi.
Malachi. Yeah. I thought Malachi was even a little edgy.
Yeah.
Edgy. So I don't know. I thought it's got to be coming back to new characters, because I will say the first little bit I had a hard time remembering how Borem behaves. I kind of thought Borem was being kind of grouchy for Borem. I don't know that he really has a hate for gnomes. It was sort of the mood of the time, and so I think I don't know. For me, I think it was more getting back into the character, and being crabby was the easiest way to do that.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know, because I do feel, and I feel it. I really need to work as a DM, because that's the default I have with NPCs is immediately suspicious.
Oh,
and I think I need to vary that up a little bit and try to have some that are happy-go-lucky or whatever.
Yeah, because there were times, what made me think of it was when we were in conversation with Aelinx's son, and I felt that Dirichlet and Rix were being especially combative with him for the ally that Aelinx is.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, why are we being this way to
Gawain?
And it was kind of rubbing Borem the wrong way. But Borem didn't have the relationship with Aelinx that they did, because he's a drow, and even though Borem came to trust him, still isn't 1,000% comfortable with that relationship, and so he didn't say anything. It was more me as the player was like, wow, we're being kind of arguing. And then they were that way with the captain too,
mm-hmm.
in a couple places where not Maribel but the other Hilda, where she had to step in and kind of be like, okay, let's cut this out. And so, I don't know. It was just a note. It was just a note. And maybe we're on water, and that makes people crabby too. So, but yeah. So a little bit of
get sick.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yes. Borem definitely was quite sick numerous times. And it had nothing to do with the ale in his mug. It had everything to do with the waves and the crashing and the lightning and the wind and all of that kind of thing.
Yes.
Which would seem that he would be a little bit more accustomed being a druid, but nonetheless, it made him ill. So a little bit about the adventure itself. My next headline is Off to Lenniswith.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about where we're headed.
So the overarching plot that you have so far is that the portals that you so laboriously shut,
Mm-hmm.
Actually you prop them open without even knowing it.
Lovely.
And you remember you were trapped in sort of a time loop beneath Caltiendra, and so over 100 years has passed.
That's where we destroyed the time, the sundial.
Yeah.
There's a sundial that was just spinning, and it was really bothering us, and so we destroyed it.
Mm-hmm.
But that spinning was representative of time.
Yes.
Not passing, but time going back. No. Time passing.
Yes. Yes. So that has kind of thrown you into a different space. So the blood war has heated up and spilled over to the material plane. And so you are sort of allies of convenience with devils right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Maragon that is accompanying Rix that will assist you in destroying a demonic plot to, you're not really sure what, but you know it's being led by an acquaintance of yours from years gone by, Kerdic, who is the leader of the Cult of All Deaths.
Mm-hmm.
And he is apparently in league with Orcus.
Okay. I remember some. Yeah, I went back and looked at some of those notes when we were talking that through. The Blood War, just for those who don't know, that is the battle. That is the legendary war between demons and devils. And so, as you said, it spilled over into the material plane where we are. Tell me a little bit more about where did Rix acquire? Is that even? It's not. He doesn't own this. It's not like a familiar. It's
the near the end of the last arc. You found a village or a town where you didn't expect one to be, and turns out it was placed there by demons and meant to drag souls back. Okay. And as you were realizing this, a group of devils rode up to attack and slaughter the villagers, who are in fact mostly demons. So you guys had to decide which side to jump onto. You figured out, well, neither one is particularly good, but demons are definitely the worst threat right now. And so in gratitude, the devil sort of contingent placed this one with you, and I believe through him you'll be able to get some assistance if you need it later.
Okay. Man, I don't. It's like we said. It's been a long time.
I know. I had to dig deep to find out.
I had completely forgotten about that, but I remember Borem being uncomfortable with that thing. I mean, it's a devil. He's a druid. Yeah. He doesn't like things like that, and so but I'd forgotten that Rix had taken to it so much. I mean, he's kind of treating it like a pet.
Yes.
And I know that Gribbus isn't on board with that, and I think Dirichlet is not especially on board with it, but we're all putting up with it for now. Yeah. Hopefully it pans out to do good for us. For us. I know it's not going to do good, but to do good for us at some point. So we're on the ship, and we're sailing south, and it is not a direct flight, so to speak, to Lanniswith, because we're going to be making a stop, and
we have to stop in the port city of Avyelish.
Yes.
It's a massive cosmopolitan megacity.
Yeah, they said it's potentially the largest in the world. And so that's the plan. But we don't know. We did not inquire what we're dropping off, right?
No.
The cargo. So we don't know what we're dropping off. I'm anticipating that it's not going to be just a drop off. I suspect that there's going to be more to it. However, that prospect I think is really cool. I'm looking forward to that aspect of searching a new city. And I don't know. I've heard rumblings from characters that they may have some designs of how that whole thing is going to go down, but I'm sure the Dungeon Master will have something to say about that. So we're floating along. Borem is in and out of being deathly ill to being fine, to deathly ill to being fine. He befriends, or rather this person, Marybelle, befriends Borem. She is the ship's surgeon, and she continues to give him liquids that ease his tummy and make him feel a little bit better. And he's actually become quite reliant upon her because his constitution rolls just are not quite doing the job. But we are sailing along, and I forget who noticed, but we noticed that something was following along. Oh, wait, before we got to that, some traders showed up. Merfolk.
No, first we had your little exciting escapade.
Oh, yes.
Borem's, I should say.
But I forget what I know. He got a inspiration from it, but help me out with that. I've forgotten already.
Well, I didn't want to say too much because I don't know what your other headlines are, so I don't know if we're...
I'm going straight to how things ended. So I have one more headline, and the headline is Danger Below. Okay. So we've got a little bit of things going on between that.
So let me back up just a bit. I thought I wanted to give you guys a little more agency, or at least the illusion of it. So I had all of you roll D20s for me, and I wrote down all the numbers.
Right.
And then I had you all roll D12s, and I wrote down the numbers. So the D20s were weather rolls.
D20s are weather. Okay.
And so what I decided to do was that I would let the rolls stand, but I would organize them the way I wanted.
Okay.
That would make the most sense. And so the fact that you guys are having to make seasickness rolls were because your D20 rolls were not good.
Okay.
You guys rolled mostly stormy weather all the way.
Fitting.
With just a few
Crabby
fine
pants.
with just a few fine days. And then the 12s were the encounters that you guys would have.
Okay.
So again, little leeway there. If only one person rolled a number, I thought, well, we'll see if that one happens or not. If two of you rolled the same number, then that definitely had to happen. And anything you didn't roll was off the table.
Okay.
So and then I matched them up to weather to a certain extent as much as possible.
Okay.
So yes, the first encounter was with a pod of dolphins.
Yes. And so Borem, having been a dolphin before through Wild Shape, he dove in and turned into a dolphin.
Because they seem to be beckoning.
Yes. And so Borem dove in and swam around, and I liked your description of they kind of like pushed you around and you got slapped in the face before you figured out how the play of the dolphins went.
I was a little surprised nobody else jumped in.
Oh.
But then again, given the way that I've normally set things up, I'm sure they thought something horrible was about to happen.
Not Borem. So yeah, Borem got in and swam around with them. And when we had decided that, when it felt like they were sort of finishing up that sort of thing, Borem, not thinking about the fact that he didn't have a way back on the ship, swam back over to the ship. And I forget, did someone lower a rope or something?
Rick's used a spell to...
Oh, that's right.
They would have got you back
mage,
up.
But switched back, and I heard in my head a voice that thanked me for the play and wished me blessings, and you gave me a point of inspiration.
Yes.
Which is super cool. That was a lot of fun.
I finally remembered to work that in. That mechanic is very fun for players.
Yeah.
And DMs too. And I just never remember it's there.
Yeah, and it probably would have come in handy a couple different times in this, but I saved it for next session, so I still have a... but that was cool. That was a lot of fun.
Technically, I think inspiration points, maybe I'm wrong in this, I think according to the rule books, they last for
just
a day.
That session. Oh, that day.
A day or session or whatever. But I don't. I think I'm gonna go with that. You can never have more than one inspiration point at a time.
Okay.
But I think it's fine to save it as long as you want. I don't think that ruins the game.
Both make sense to me.
Yeah.
The first one that you mentioned would probably need to be established at the beginning.
Yeah.
So that don't save it. Use it up as soon as you can. But I thought that was fun. It let Borem take advantage of some of his druid abilities and have some fun with turning into a dolphin. And then the storms hit. And then that's when
a lot of people got sick.
Yeah. And then I have a note after that first round of storms. Nope, from the second round of storms that was about day 4 when the merfolk showed up and wanted to trade. So...
And again, nobody really took advantage of that. And it makes sense to me because I think either you've got characters that don't care that much about treasure, or you've got characters who have quite a bit of treasure already. I will say you missed out.
I was going to say, I was kind of disappointed. So this is something that came up, and this was part of the crabbiness. And that is that I don't know who's keeping the money. I assumed it was Dirichlet because I know that you can trust Rix, but you can't trust Rix. Like, Rix plays games. If you're in need, he's there for you. But if he's got it and it's not necessary at the moment, he holds it close. So I think I've been trusting Dirichlet to kind of collect everything in the bag of holding. Well, he wasn't being very giving at this. And when you had revealed through our perception that something that they were offering us, and it was a lot of gold. I think they were asking 2,000 or something like that. But you had revealed through our perception that this is actually worth a lot more. And I was like, give him the money. Because I think it was Malachi that was negotiating at the time, and he's like, give me the money, let's trade for it. And in fact, I think they'd even talked them down to 1,500, or that's what they asked, that's what they countered.
You guys tried to make a deal for all of it. And,
that's right.
They agreed to knock some of the price off, I think.
Yeah. But we ended up not getting anything. And I don't know, I was kind of like, what are we doing here? What? Trade with them already. They could be allies. You could end up with something good. In fact, our what we see, we know is of value. So, but Borem was too sick to make any comments and to really play along too much. But so yeah,
there was an artifact that would have made what happens next much less difficult.
Oh, okay. So we missed out.
But as a DM, I was fine with that. I've grown, and if you guys go in a different direction, it's kind of fun to see. Well, let's see how it plays out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I've started doing that a lot in Waterdeep. There's a lot of stuff you guys missed.
Yes, we rolled so bad,
and I was disappointed, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? It's just the way it goes.
Yep.
It's, in life you don't catch everything, so it's all good. So the merfolk left, and then we started noticing things off of whatever the right side of the ship is, towards sort of the rear right side. I can't remember. I was starting to get names mixed up. So they were.
Well, the next thing you saw was a pod of merfolk being attacked by Marrow.
Marrow, that's it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and Dirichlet was able to shoot a couple of the Marrow from a distance, enough to drive them off.
Yeah.
But
that apparently drew the ire or the notice of something worse.
Yes.
And I never caught the name of this thing, but it was large. Was it just large, or was it a giant, or
just a large creature?
Just a large creature. And somehow with a tentacle, I'm assuming, yanked.
It wasn't that. Do you want to read your last headline officially? Is that?
Yes, let's do it. This is called Danger from Below.
Yes. So this again ties into the bigger picture of what's the chaos that is emerging in the material plane that you guys need to stop.
Okay.
So the Marrow themselves, just the background there is they are merfolk who have been warped by demonic forces.
Got it.
And so that already kind of ties in nicely. They were being led or driven by a demon called a Wasterlith. And to be honest, that was one that I've seen in the monster manual, and I don't like the picture of it. Actually, it looks a little goofy to me. But I was just doing a quick search for, I knew I needed a demonic force that's after you. So I just did a quick, what's a demonic force that's aquatic?
Okay.
And that popped up. And I thought, oh, all right, we're going with that. So the main thing that was grabbing you guys is just called a spout. And he can direct water to just explode at you like a whale's spout.
But it grabs you. Okay, I remember that description now. Yeah.
And so there were several things about him that made him particularly nasty, is that he fouls the water around himself. So if you try to get into melee and you stay there, you're going to get damage every turn from that poisoned water. The spout doesn't just grab you, it's acid. And so it does damage to you as it grabs you. And then if you get into melee with him, he's doing like 4d12 damage if he bites you. And
this dude's nastier than
a lot of d6s on his claws.
Okay.
And that's why even though, I don't want to steal your thunder, even though you, which you'll explain here in a second, got a lot more hit points, they went away fairly quickly.
Yeah, if I'd have gone in just as Borem, this wouldn't have been a good thing, because this is where I was like, okay, now we're back to this group, because I knew Rick's had polymorph. He had mentioned a couple of times as a reminder to me that he's got polymorph. And so I'm trying to remember what my procedure was, because, Borem is I don't even remember now what his subclass is, but he's able to create these spirits, spirit of the hawk, spirit of the bear, spirit of the unicorn, I think. And so I was like, okay, here I get a chance to do a couple things in my first round to be able to get right into the thick of things. Borem came running off the side of the boat, brought the spirit of the bear in, which my concern wasn't so much. One benefit is it gives you temporary hit points. That was fine. That was really the lesser of the two. But I knew that Nate's new character was being grappled or held below water. And so I'd asked ahead of time, I said, are you doing string checks or dex checks? And he was actually doing both for one reason or another. And I said, okay. So I cast the Spirit of the Bear, knowing this gives everybody in that 30-foot radius an advantage on strength checks, which eventually then also helped Malachi, because I think he got wrapped up in the same sort of thing. So I did that as a bonus action, and then I was in the midst of a dive, which is part of my move, and I shouted, "Rix, now!" hoping he was onto what I wanted him to do, and sure enough, he was next in initiative. So in mid jump,
did it work like that? I thought something got a little bit mixed up, so that it worked as well as you needed it to, but it was, I feel like you belly flopped.
Something happened in between. Yes, yeah, he hit the water, but then he did the polymorph into a giant shark.
Yes.
Which takes my hit points from, I don't know, I have 59 or 58 hit points, took it to 126. So I was like, oh yeah, Borem was feeling pretty good about himself, because his bite also did 3d10 or 4d10. I think it was 3d10. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be able to participate in this battle for once. And so that was Borem's
Yeah, you did.
move.
You were key in getting him.
I think I only hit once, but I did a lot of distraction, I feel, because it did turn its attention to me at least one round.
So he had that. The Marrow were assaulting the ship. You talk about crabbiness. I think that was the one thing that did surprise me, that I realized this is a different group. This is a very much more pragmatic, I don't know quite the term is. Crew members were going down. Marrow were just laying these guys flat. And I was really surprised that none of the healers seemed to give it a second thought.
That they were going down.
Yeah, just left them.
Well, I was a shark, so I didn't see them.
You did not. You were not able to do that.
But I remember Mark knew that they were going down, but he was making the choice to. He eventually threw a Spare the Dying.
Mark and Rix both came over and eventually sort of helped Rix, because he thinks it's his crew.
But yes, right, yes. But they were 2 or 3 rounds into that death saving throw situation, so they were near death. I mean, like near death.
Yes.
One more round from it. But I thought it was fun sitting back. This is where I was like, okay, it didn't take long for this group to it just took a battle.
Yeah.
For this group's synergy to sort of come back, because you had Rick's casting polymorph on me. You had Gribbus running around the deck with his axe, just chopping marrow, like marrow in your bone.
That's how you pronounce it. It's spelled different. But.
Yeah, all right. So he was running around the deck doing his thing, and Rix was just doing his thing. And he left his little guy to protect the captain of the ship, because that's the kind of captain Rix is. He watches out for people. But then you had everybody else sort of in the thick of it. And so I thought it was a really cool battle. But it wasn't until after it was after the game, I texted you later that night. And you said something that just totally related like I could relate to as a DM, and that was just a random encounter.
Yes, that wasn't supposed to take that long.
This didn't really have any. It had a little bit, like him being a demon is part of the story, but the fact that it wasn't necessarily a planned battle, it was random encounter.
Yeah, you rolled it.
So any other thoughts on that battle?
No, just that that was what I was going to say, is it took way longer than I thought. And I should have been a little more realistic. I honestly, I think I got a little bit tripped up, because as everyone who listens to the show knows, I love playing Tritons. Yeah. And I think in the back of my mind is, they'll just all jump in. you know, and you know, and Nikistos would have done that. Campaign I play in with our friend Jay Gross. I've got a Triton Battle Master who took the tough feat, so he's level 8 or 9. He's got over 100 hit points. He would have been like your shark.
Right.
I am going to just get right in that guy's face. And
Yep.
and so that, I think I was expecting more of you to do that, but that didn't make sense. That's not, you know. And so the way it played out was actually kind of cool. And again, looking back, I'm happier with it. I mean, you're supposed to, as a DM, arrange so that every player can have a moment.
Right.
And that was Borem's moment.
It was. I was thrilled with
And
the
I
way
wasn't
that turned
thinking
out.
that. I was in, as I was planning the Ocean Voyage, I'm like, okay, this is Rick's thing. But then, and again, I don't fault Chris for playing it this way, but Rick's was kind of a butt and made the captain mad, and that's actually setting back what I thought would happen. I thought there'd be a much more natural,
Connection.
yes, you can, and giving of authority slowly,
Yeah.
but he's gonna have to earn it now. So you guys will, not to give anything away, but you, based on your roles, he's definitely gonna have a chance to do that next time.
Okay, cool. Well, it was fun. We all had a good time, and anytime we play outdoors, it's just a cool experience, and we're so thankful for you to have that space out back to be able to play in that sort of format. But like I said, it was good to have this group back. This is the original back to whenever.
OG.
Yeah, we can never figure out when exactly. It was a December. It was December pre-pandemic.
Yes.
That we started these characters, and the 3 originals are Borem, Rix, and Dirichlet.
I bet it was 2018.
I think it was December 2018.
Because we played for quite a while until we had to go remote.
Yes. In fact, we were into the second set of adventures, like where Chris and I shared the.
Past that.
Yeah, I think we were even past that. So anyway, but yeah, so it was good to be back to these characters, and it's fun when a new character comes in just to kind of see how things roll.
Shake things up a bit.
Yep. So, well, that is our recap of Return to Telessaria with our headlines of New Character Intro, Crabby Pants, Off to Lanniswith, and Danger Below. So if you have any questions about this campaign, let us know. We would be happy to answer those questions. teachersinthedungeon@gmail.com, which, by the way, has been kind of hopping this last week or so. So keep those comments coming. We answer them as quickly as we can, but being back in school, Dan's much better about it than I am. But nonetheless, yeah,
I
teachers
just get so excited when people talk to me.
Well, I do too. No, teachersinthedungeon@gmail.com, or follow us on the socials: Instagram, Facebook, Teachers in the Dungeon. Twitter is @DungeonTeachers. And then don't forget the awesome videos that Dan's putting together on YouTube. It's the shows, but Dan creates some AI art that he puts in there. The Gen Con show actually had photographs from Gen Con. So if you've listened to our recap but didn't watch it on YouTube,
A little bit of video too.
yeah. Oh, awesome. So yeah, you might want to go back and check that one out for some of those awesome pictures that we took when we were there. So, well, for Dan, I am Tom, and until next time, keep rolling those 20s.